You ready to do this?
Yeah.
Do you want anything to drink?
No, I have this.
You're
which
good?
Is probably not the best thing to be drinking.
Is this weird, like being on a podcast
It
with,
is,
like
so
me, like with your friend?
This is the Said No One Ever podcast, a podcast about things you never knew you wanted to hear about. I'm your host, Martin Moore. Let's get into it.
I am super jacked for this episode. It's called BFs Forever. If you don't know what BF is, that means like best friend. I don't know that we're best friends, but we're definitely very, very good friends. This is my friend. She's a nurse, a digital health guru, a mom, a side hustler, a lover of all humans, and someone that I just really, really love spending time with. My friend, Natalie Mortensen. Welcome!
Hey! I am so excited to be here.
Welcome to these...
Go ahead.
Welcome to the show.
I'm already interrupting you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
How
How's your
are
week
you
going?
doing? So busy.
Sure.
All the things.
Sure.
I thrive
Busy,
on
anything
stress. Yeah, business opportunities and
that works.
Work and job security, and now I'm here.
Well, why don't you tell all the listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do, how we know each other?
Yeah, how do we know each other? I'm just kidding.
Because we haven't known each other that long. Maybe like 2 or 3 years, 3 years, 4 years. No more than 5.
The pandemic stole most of my brain waves away.
Right.
And my sense of time is awful. So I'm gonna go with at least 5.
You think it's been that long?
I think, but I was friends with your wife Jen first.
Because you guys met
at
your work.
At work.
Sure.
Yeah. So, a little bit about who I am, what I do. I am a nurse by background.
You took stitches out of my head.
I took stitches
out of my little
head.
vacuuming accent.
Yes, on the side. I have a mini OR at home. I do a lot of things.
Just had a couple cocktails and then you just ripped them right out of my head.
That is a good friend.
Right.
That is a good friend. I've got a side hustle. Somebody called me yesterday motivated and relentless.
Boy,
and I was like,
that's awfully specific.
That is actually quite accurate. So I'm sure my husband would agree. I've got 2 little girls, cat,
Penelope.
Love our cats. You love Penelope. See, even our cats are friends.
I know, right?
I know.
Well, this episode's called BFs Forever, and it's all about friendships. And I thought, who better to have on an episode to talk about this than what I would consider one of my very, very, very close friends, you.
Yes,
and so
you.
I kind of want to get into just friendships in general, because I think it's something that we take for granted. I know it's something I've taken for granted. There was a period about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, 8 years ago, where I didn't have a single friend for like 5 years. So that really gave me perspective when I kind of started engaging with my new friend group and started making all the friends that I have now. And I really appreciate friendships more. So I kind of want to get into friend circles. How many groups of friends have we had in our lifetime? I want to get into some of the difficulties of making friends as we get older. I'm 41 years old. I'm not out at the bars at 2 a.m. anymore. I want to get into social media friendships. I really want to touch on how COVID has changed the way we interact with friends and we think about hanging out with friends. Another one that I really want to get into is dinks, dual income, no kids. Being friends with people who have kids.
That is
you and your
big
husband have
topic.
2 kids.
I cannot wait to dive into that one. Yes.
And can guys and girls really be friends? Believe it or not, I'm a guy. You're a girl.
Oh,
we're friends. So let's just kind of get into this and have some fun with it. How many close friends do you think you have right now?
Close friends.
Close friends, like people that you either talk to on a daily or semi-daily basis, or you see or try to see at least once a week or something like that.
Absolutely. I would say it's about 4 to 5.
Sure.
That I am hardcore invested in their lives, reach out to them, speak to them, text with them. I understand. I know what's going on in their life. Up to date with their kids or anything else that's going on. Probably about 4 or 5.
Okay.
And that's pretty standard.
I think it is.
I don't think it's adjusted that much. I mean, I have I probably have a lot more close friends, but really integrated,
substantial friends.
that I'm constantly in contact with. It's probably about
you rely on and confide in and are excited to see about Yeah.
Exactly.
I would say I'm probably the same. I'd say I'm probably between 6, 7, 8, I would say. It's funny because I looked up some statistics on Friends, and actually the number of close friendships that Americans have has declined over the past couple decades. So
I find that fascinating.
I know. So in 1990, people who said they had 10 or more friends, in 1990, most people on average said they had 33, like really close friends.
Wow.
2021, 13. Isn't that crazy? So where you and I are at, between around 5 in 1990, that was like 16 people that like the average person was friends with, where we're at like 5 right now. Isn't that?
And how? Like,
I don't know.
Did we have that much more time to invest? Or what I think is interesting too is, what is your definition of a friend?
Well, exactly.
And I think once we get into the social media discussion too, like that definition for people is different.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
If you ask me, you, the person sitting across from us, you know, what's your definition of a friend? It's going to be different. So I think that context of what people view as a good friend, a best friend, or an acquaintance, I mean, it could be an acquaintance, but really they're calling this person a friend.
Sure.
So I think that's interesting too, because it's all about perspective.
What do you define as like in air quotes, a friend?
I think a friend is someone that you actually see, spend time with, speak to, talk to, text with, who you find to be genuinely advantageous in your life. I think that the energy you put out into the world is the energy you receive back. And I think those people that accommodate that feeling for you are a friend. Especially if you're invested in really enjoying their presence and company.
Sure.
So
no, I 100% agree. And I really think the advent of social media has created a sort of bifurcation in how we define what a friend is, because there's a lot of people who I've never met like in real life, or I've maybe met one time, but I'm constantly talking to them on social media, and I know some of them and they know me better than I know some of like my friends that maybe I see once a month. And so it's really interesting how social media has changed how we view and how we categorize, again in air quotes, a friend.
Absolutely. And I have some people like that too. I've met them. I have one that I've never met who I feel like I've connected with like crazy.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, where have you been all my life?
Right.
Like, why haven't we been actual real life in person friends ever?
Right.
And yet I do consider her a friend. Is she on my handful? No. But I absolutely consider her a friend. I would do anything for her. I have another one as well. Same thing. Met through mutual friends, social media. Have met her in person one time, and I very much consider her a friend.
Sure.
So again, I think it just depends on the connection, that level, of integrity that you want to have with that person, and how they. I don't know
how they fulfill
make
your
you
life.
feel. Yeah, absolutely.
In whatever aspect or niche that looks like.
Absolutely.
Here are a couple more statistics. 67% of Americans say they have a friend whom they've known since childhood. Mm-hmm. Which I feel like that would be. I have people that I communicate with. I don't really hang out with that I've known since my childhood.
Sure.
But I don't hang out with anyone that like I went to like grade school or middle school with, and I haven't in probably a decade.
And I have a couple that either I still definitely talk to and legit from grade school.
Okay.
I would say for most people, that's a very slim number.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, again, if we're going back to the handful of BFFs or friends that, that are in my handful, that's probably not a person I would consider in the handful,
right.
But absolutely a lifelong friend.
Right.
Like that will never change.
This is a shocking statistic. 54% of Americans say they texted a friend within the past 24 hours. Shocking because it's only 54%.
Yeah.
I feel like...
What else are people doing? Leaving voicemails?
I feel like that should be around
like
high 80s?
80,
low
92.
90s maybe? I found that really bizarre. And this is all from the Survey Center of American Life. 41% of women report having received emotional support from a friend in the past week, compared to 21% of men.
Whoa, wait a minute.
So women are right now twice as much or twice as likely to receive emotional support from a friend versus a guy.
I think I heard you opposite. I was like, the men are more?
Right?
That's not right.
59% of Americans say they have one person they consider their best friend, which I get that. I mean, it is best friend.
Like
it's not best friends.
No.
One last one. Women were most affected by quarantine, with around 59% claiming they'd fallen out of contact with at least a couple friends during COVID and during quarantine.
Here's the thing, too. I'm interested in your perspective on this, because I think women are different than men in generality, because I need my friends. I need people in my life. I enjoy people. I, like, as you said, lover of all humans.
You are a social butterfly.
Oh my gosh.
I've seen it.
Someone told me the other night I could make friends with a bar stool. So and it's just, I need people. People fulfill different roles in my life, and I very much enjoy meeting strangers.
Yeah.
I very much enjoy understanding how to connect or interact with someone within the first 30 seconds of a conversation. I find pleasure in that for just me and who I am and in my life. I think men, on the other hand, don't necessarily have that same desire.
No.
And I don't know that you feel that. Yeah. I mean, my husband does not feel that way. So it's very interesting to be very opposite, to be like, I need my people. And he's like, I could sit in a house up north by myself for a week and be fine. So I just think the differences between men and having friends as an outlet or emotional support or whatever is very different, I feel, than what women
absolutely I agree
like see that as a need.
I agree. So how many, let's talk about friend circles. You know, they always say you change your friend circle every 5 to 7 years, which I think is pretty true. In my lifetime, I counted, before we did this episode, I counted I've had basically 4 friend circles. I had the friends I had in high school. Then I got kicked out of my parents' house. And then I had a new group of friends that I started hanging out with. Then in my late 20s, early 30s, I had a third group of completely different friends. And then now I have my current group of friends. How many, do you know how many you've had in your lifetime?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if we're going maybe post high school, you kind of get into your college friends, and then you get into your late college friends, because I feel like that transitions over that period of time as well. Then you have your post-college group. So what am I on? 3?
Oh my God.
Ish. And then you have, it's kind of you get into that early adult, you're kind of finding yourself. And I think it depends on where you are at in your life and who you connect with, that it's like a natural fluctuation. I think when you talk about, which I completely agree with, that your group of friends probably shifts and changes about every 5 to 6 years. You said 5 to 7. I think that's because of the way that life naturally progresses.
Oh, absolutely.
The way that you grow as a person, the evolution of wherever you are at and what you are experiencing in your life. You connect with like-minded people. So it is natural that your friends and circle of friends is going to adjust and change. Now, I think some people get really freaked out by that. And they're like, well, why am I not friends with this person anymore? Or this relationship that I once valued has degraded over time. And not that that's a bad thing.
Yeah, it happens.
It can be okay though.
People have kids, people's careers change, people develop in very different ways, and sometimes those relationships work out and sometimes they don't,
Right. And I think it's really important though to just recognize why did it change? And be okay with it. Change is okay in most cases, but I think we're in such a culture that change is so scary. I would think the pandemic has maybe taught somebody something about being a little bit more agile and change, acceptance of change. But you never know. I mean, everybody has their thing, but I've even had friends that like have fallen off my grid and have come back into my life. Like
those are real
stronger.
Friends. Those are real friends.
That's one of this girl's one of my handful friends. Yeah, absolutely. The other thing, I want to go back to my handful.
Sure.
I have another comment about that. Handful friends are your besties are somebody that you will tell anything to. Deep, dark skeleton secrets.
Yes.
Those are your besties because you know and you trust them.
Yes.
That you can just say whatever you need to say.
Sometimes you just need to vent.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Sometimes you just need to be heard.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes you need inspiration and perspective. And, I mean, you have to have those kinds of people in your life. There's a lot of times where you just, I mean, you know, everyone loves their spouses and their significant others, but there's times where you need to get perspective on something from someone else that's a little bit further away from you, but still close. And I think that's where, you know, really close friends and BFFs really come into play, you know?
Yeah. You need that trust and that support and just the ability to just be yourself. If you can't, that's the other thing too about the handful friends. Those are people that you can be you regardless of who you are. And they love you 150%.
You don't have to put on a show.
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not.
Do you think, how old are you?
37.
37, and I'm 41. Do you feel like, or what's your opinion or your perspective on making friends as you get older? Do you feel like it's been harder to make friends, the same, easier as you've gotten older? Because when we're younger, we're all very social. I mean, we're at the bars 24/7. You're in college. You know, you're working lots of different jobs. Making friends is a very accessible. Whereas you get older, you have kids, you're indoors a little bit more, you're a little more career oriented and focused. Do you feel like this is a long question. Do you feel like it's been harder to make friends as you've gotten older?
Could you break it up with some punctuation? I'm just kidding. Yeah, I do think, and for someone like me, again, who could make friends with all, I do still think it's difficult to make friends as an adult. How do you naturally meet people? I mean, I can go, for example, at this point, it's meeting parents of other children in activities where my children are also participating. So yeah, you can meet people and friends that way. I mean, again, some of them are more of an acquaintance than a friend, and they're obviously not in my handful bucket, but it is hard. Like, and then how do you strike up a conversation? You have to find some random commonality. And unless, for example,
thank God for Netflix.
Oh my gosh, between that, anything that's out there, yes, exactly. Apple TV, Ted Lasso.
Yeah, right. Just bring Ted Lasso up.
Yeah. I love it. Lead Tasso. Don't make me go Lead Tasso. So it's a commonality, you know, and I there was a mom, we're waiting. It's a very drop-off pickup situation at dance class now with through the pandemic that occurred and changed. And a mom had stepped up. I'd never met her. She's waiting for her kid, just like me, and she was wearing a Marquette sweatshirt. And I was like, ooh,
ding, 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 ding,
hey,
ding,
girl,
ding.
you know, and so started talking about that. She is wonderful. And like, yeah, other than you see something visually, how do you even make a friend as an adult? It's very weird. And you're right. You're like, usually if we are out in a social setting or at a bar, we're going with our friends. We're not going by ourselves to like meet a friend as an adult. It's just not what we do. So it's a very interesting perspective. Like, I don't know how you feel about it, but
yeah, it's been interesting trying to make friends, and especially this new friend group that I have. And honestly, everyone I've met has been from like networking events and kind of doing the antithesis of what you just said and going to places by myself and not with friends and just striking conversations with random people. And I've met some of the most lovely people in my entire life that I respect and I'm super close to. And But it has been tough trying to make friends, and it's been really cool to meet you and your husband through Jen, and
I just feel very fortunate for all the friends that I have now, because I remember, man, Jen would always go out, and I'd just be like, God, what the fuck am I gonna do tonight? Like, I have no one. There's no one I could go in my phone and text, and like now I feel almost overwhelmed with the amount of people that I know and I want to hang out with, and so.
That's an interesting perspective, though, too, is it can be overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I almost feel guilty. Okay, I like I said, love my friends, love my people. I love learning things from others. I think that's super valuable in life. I literally almost feel guilty because I will pack my calendar with social events for myself with my friends, because that's something I need in my life. And then I feel horrible that my husband is like, hey, where's my calendar date?
Right.
Like, sorry, man, I need my friends. Like, I just, it can be overwhelming. I think there's a delicate balance there depending on what you are trying to achieve for your life and what you need in your life at that
100%.
moment. I lost my train of thought. That happens quite frequently.
Right.
But I was going to say something else about... I got nothing. It'll come.
That's okay. That's okay. How do we deal with friendship fallouts? Have you ever had a falling out with like a friend, like someone that you were friends with for a period of years or whatever, and you just don't talk to anymore? Like, you got in a fight with or something. Like, how do you?
Yeah,
that's a hard thing to deal with.
It really is. I think it's painful when that happens. Things happen for a reason. I think it depends on the type of person you are as well. And in terms of how you handle that, what was really the root of the issue. I mean, there's a lot of people thrive on drama with their friends.
God, some people love drama. Ugh. They love to be miserable.
All about being absolutely nowhere near it.
Right.
So I think it just depends on the person and how they naturally handle situations, because some people will be like, well, I had a falling out with so-and-so, but
God.
They totally wanted it.
Please don't tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Please don't go on some diatribe.
Hey, P.S., by the way, that was actually absolutely all your fault.
Right.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. Yeah. I did come to my train of thought from earlier. I think it'd be going back to being able to make friends as an adult. Okay, we have an easy time. Like, yes. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
We probably have the easiest time. So anyone listening to this is probably like, you assholes. Like, you can go talk to a wall, and I feel like I can't talk to anybody.
Right.
So I'm curious, too, for the group of truly, like, introverts. How is that? Because I can't imagine being timid or shy or having that difficulty. Some people just have difficulty striking a conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
It naturally, I mean, just in general about anything. So I can't speak to that viewpoint, but I can only imagine that for a lot of people around us, it's been really hard. And then put the pandemic on that,
COVID
and you're
has
isolated.
Exacerbated that big time.
I'd be curious to get that perspective, because I don't know what that feels like, but I know there's people out there that absolutely struggle.
You can see them when you go to a networking event or something, and I always try and seek those people out and try and strike a conversation with them. I'm extroverted as much as I am introverted, so like I get really paranoid being like around people. I hate being around people. Like, I love networking events and hate them at the same time. But I always try and go and find the people that are shy or are timid and are afraid to strike a conversation, and kind of meet them halfway and get them to open up. Because there's been a lot of people that I've met that I'm are acquaintances of mine. I don't know that I call them friends. That I never would have met had I not kind of reached out to them. And you just never know who you could be friends with, and you never know where someone's coming from, how afraid they are to talk and to meet people.
Exactly. It goes back to like
intimidating world out there.
It is, but you can't judge a book either.
Oh, exactly.
Because somebody that you think you would never be friends with could be your best friend. I mean, It's just, that's crazy too, but you have to be open to allowing that to be an opportunity.
Right.
Otherwise, it's on you. It's like you're lost, man.
Right. So in, I think it was October, the four of us, your husband and you and me and Jen, we went to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Got tattoos.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You and I got tattoos there.
That's a BFF. Sorry, right there.
One of my
when you ditch your spouses and go get tattoos together, that's when you know you're friends.
Right. I love traveling, and even more than I love traveling with friends. Like,
Agreed.
there's nothing better than sharing like those experiences. And we went to Death Valley National Park, and we were drinking on the top of Circa, and we were going to sushi bars. We just had so much fun. Those experiences, especially when you travel with friends, like how do you value those? Like,
well, I'm gonna echo it. Just like, it makes it that much more exciting and valuable, and you remember that, and it's a time that you can go back to and reflect on together. I mean, I think every time we're together, we talk about Vegas.
Yeah, I made a YouTube vlog.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. It
really doesn't. It really doesn't.
It just brings back that connectivity of like us as friends, and
it's almost like we're kids again, because when we hang out during the week or on a weekend, we're still at our houses. There's still kids around. There's still work involved. There's still all the little nuances of daily life surrounding us. When we hop on a plane together and we get the fuck out of Wisconsin and we go to wherever it is we go, it's like we're at Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and it just feels like all the responsibilities and cares are thrown out the window, and we sort of get to take our friendship to a completely different level.
Yeah.
It's just not accessible when we're hanging out in the living room,
Agree.
And that's why
around
the
children.
Love traveling with friends.
Right.
And traveling with you guys, oh my God, it was literally one of the best trips I think I've ever been on. I had so much fun.
We have never had that much fun. In fact, I'm not going to lie. Well, I mean, okay, you're the only friend trip we've ever taken.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you should consider yourself pretty stinking special, because we literally have not gone anywhere with anybody else. And
was it like, did you have any trepidations about like, I think we know Jen and Martin really well, but like, what if, like, are they early risers, or do they sleep in? Like,
I agree.
Did you have any?
Absolutely. I was like, oh my God, what if
What
this
if it
ruins
sucks
our
the first day?
relationship?
I mean, that's a really valid thing that could have happened.
No, and I think the benefit between us, and for people who don't know us personally, like we giggle about this all the time. Like, Martin and I are very similar,
Yes.
and Jen and my husband Dave are very similar.
Big time.
So between the four of us, the X that we create, if you will,
Yes.
is spot on. Like,
we can
think
bounce around.
Yeah. And I think like I said, we just ditched our spouses and went and got tattoos. No big deal.
Right.
I mean, who does that?
Right.
We do that.
Let's actually get into this, because you had brought this up too, like when we were kind of prepping for the show and what we were going to ask. And it's something that I always find really fascinating, because for some people like you and I, it's very easy. And for other people, it's difficult, is being friends with someone of the opposite sex. Like, how do you feel about guys and girls being friends, just in your own personal life, and then how kind of your opinion and thoughts on other people that struggle with it, that like just can't be friends with someone of the opposite sex? Because I know so many guys that, like, as soon as like they have like a connection with a girl, they just assume that like they like them or something like that. And it's just like, I feel like you're missing out on so many great friendships if you can't just take a step back and be like, you know what, you don't have to like try and date every single person that like you talk to.
Well, and I think that's I have so much to say on this. I don't know where to start.
Pontificate.
Yes, I need to put my thoughts on and make it make sense. Here's the thing. I always, when I was younger, had guy friends.
Sure.
Always. Loved my girlfriends, but I needed guys in my life. They they bring something different at a friendship level to the table.
Absolutely.
It's different. It doesn't need to be an attraction thing. It doesn't need to be a sexual thing. It's just nice to have something guy to relate to sometimes.
Exactly.
Believe it or not. I think what gets difficult, which I'm assuming this happens to 90-something% of couples, is like once you get married, it's almost taboo.
Right.
If you're those type of people, to have friends of the opposite sex.
Right.
So Dave has a couple of really good girlfriends from work. He no longer works with them, but he'll go out to lunch with them and see them, and I don't care.
Sure.
It does not bother me. I know that they're both married. It's not a threatening thing. Now, if they weren't married, this is where it gets a little sticky,
Right,
because
right.
like, okay, what if they're not married? Well, I feel like if you're trusting enough and solid enough in your relationship and you're not the jealous type,
Yeah.
I, again, don't think it's that big of a deal.
Me too.
That's not something I'm dealing with currently, so I may feel a little differently than versus me just talking about it right now. But again, it's like things, you may meet people outside of work or at events or
Yes.
whatever, and you're like, you're just a solid person. Like, I think you're a genuine person, and I want to get to know.
Chop it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But how do you come back to a spouse and be like, hey,
I just met this
I met a guy.
and God forbid they're attractive. Which, I mean, you can objectively look at someone and be like, they're attractive. I mean, you can see, especially when you're married, how that would really complicate things. And I mean, I'm really lucky that Jen, I have a lot of friends that are girls that, you know, some of them aren't married. And it's like, but like, it never once crosses my mind that I'm just like, oh boy, like.
No, right. Like, I'm going to go out with so-and-so. Yeah. No, and I just find it fascinating because even if the opportunity arose, like to have more guy friends in my life, I don't know I don't even know how I would bring that up.
Right.
Like, hey, honey.
Right.
Do you mind if I go out with Jim tonight?
I'm going out with the guys tonight.
Exactly.
It's a tough, tricky thing. And I think it's very nuanced, and you kind of have to take it like person by person that you meet. And I think you just have to really, as the participant and the friend, is to convince your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife or whoever that, you know, it's nothing more than just friends.
Right.
Because there's just so many awesome people out there, and you hate to not develop a friendship with someone just solely based out of fear.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, and again, the human connection, like, we are here for connection. Whether you're an introvert and that's one person, or you're an extrovert and that's 55,000 people, we are here for connection. And I think learning from other people, the only way to learn from other people is to experience them and to meet them and talk to them.
100%.
So I completely agree. I think it's interesting though. And my best friend in college was a guy, Kyle. Kyle, if you're out there, I know where he's at. And I was the only girl that went on an all guys tour of Marquette's campus.
Really?
It was a cigar tour. So I'm the only girl. No wonder I had so many guy friends.
Right.
I mean, so that's kind of been, and I've lost that. But again, as an adult, I think it's almost kind of difficult too to like,
it does.
How do you become friends with the opposite? It's
right.
weird. It's a weird thing. But I think it would be cool if people can tolerate that and it makes sense for them in their life.
100%. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about COVID and sort of how that has affected your own relationships with friends, and just more in a general sense, how you think COVID has, if it's made people more introverted. Because I know for me, I really enjoy staying home now. Like, there was something almost cathartic about like not having to go to networking events and not having to speak or do the podcast or whatever it was. And it has made me a little bit more introverted, and I just have a little bit more trepidation when I go out and I meet people. I get a little bit nervous and anxious. Like, did COVID change anything for you as far as you being social? And you know, how has that changed your relationship with friends?
I think, you know, the pandemic was really hard, at least on me. Work kind of surged, and I went through a little bit of like anxiety, depression, and same thing with you. Like, I enjoyed staying home for a period of time, and then it got to a point where I was like, I need to get the fuck out of my house. Exactly. Like, I need to see someone other than my husband and children. You know, love them, but bye. Yeah. So, no, I think it forced me to connect with friends in a different way. Whether that was still through
you and Dave and me
media.
and Jen Zoomed.
Oh yes, we did.
We
still do it. Every Friday we Zoomed and had drinks together.
We hang out for like 5-6 hours. Sometimes.
I know. Like, I think until our phones died,
or someone went to sleep.
Yeah. I mean,
and we still do that.
We do. And I think it just changed the way in which you interacted with people. I don't know that it necessarily changed me as a person. In fact, it probably is the opposite for me, because now that we're getting somewhat back to semi-normal, I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like I lost 2 years of my life
Right.
to meeting new people and having to be home and secluded, that now I'm ready to rock again. So
Yeah.
I don't know that it would necessarily change me as a person. I think it was an interesting blip in my life.
Totally.
That's what I'll call it.
Totally. This is something that a question I really kind of want to dive into, because it's something that has affected me and Jen and some of our friendships in the past, and that's being married without kids and being friends with people who are married with kids.
Right.
There seems to be this stigma that, like, you get married and you have kids, and all of a sudden, like, you need to, like, go around the neighborhood and find all the other couples that have kids, because how are your friends who don't have kids going to relate to you? And we've been really close with people we've traveled with, that we've went on multiple trips with, who
Right.
ended up having kids and then just vanished off the face of the earth. We've never seen them again. And I think all of the people that me and Jen consider our close friends have kids.
Yeah.
And we love it. We love being a part of the kids' lives. Their kids are excited to see us, and they hang out with us. Like, your girls hang out with us when we're over.
Play bar dice.
Yeah, exactly.
Kids play bar dice. With
Some of our other friends, it's the exact same sort of
math.
relationship.
It's all about learning math.
But it seems like there's a lot of couples either on either side of that spectrum that
Right.
think, well, I don't want to go over to so-and-so's house because the kids are, like, I don't want to hang out with their kids, or vice versa. What are we going to talk about? All we talk about is the kids. How are our friends going to relate?
Right.
What's sort of your experience with that? Have you had a falling out with certain friends because you had the girls? Or has it not really been a big deal?
Yeah, I mean, having the kids hasn't been that big of a deal. I think we've been pretty in line with most of our friends, where we had similar experiences throughout the relationship, and the get married, have kids, have marriage issues, whatever.
Right.
I mean,
right.
let's be honest.
Right.
But no, I think, and honestly, you and Jen are probably, I think, our only friends that do not have children.
Okay.
But again, I think it depends on the type of couple and the type of people that you are.
Right.
Because there are people that just don't know how to have conversations with people who don't have kids.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's all you talk.
especially
when you have
if that's
kids,
what
it's
that's all they
such a
know,
massive part
and
of your life.
It's unfortunate for them.
Yeah.
They're missing out. They're
Yeah.
missing out. And we love you guys. Like you said, you're a part of our kids' lives. They love seeing you.
Yes.
Like, they know Jen's car.
Right,
They're like,
right.
Miss Jen, So no, I don't. And really, I think the benefit of you guys particularly too is that you're so adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not like, well, we'll hang out with you if you
Right.
come here and you stay till 11.
Yeah.
Like, you're not like that. You're like, dude, we'll come by you. It's no big deal. Get your girls to bed and we'll stay.
Well, it's
You
just
know?
easier for you guys, because otherwise you have to get a sitter. You have to pay
Right.
for a sitter.
Right.
You have to worry about when you're going to come home, and there's just so many
Well,
things. And for us,
that's
it's just like, well,
so
just come over.
appreciated though. Like, that's so appreciated. Like, the flexibility that offers
It's huge.
to our friendship as both couples and individuals allows us to grow.
Exactly.
Like that, if you wanted to put restrictions and barriers on that, then we're going to be one of
kiss
these
the
people.
friendship goodbye.
Yeah, we're going to be one of these acquaintances. Or like, yeah, they were my friend and now we've had a falling out.
Right.
then
One of the,
then I'll be back talking to you about that.
One of the unfortunate byproducts of me and Jen being friends with so many couples with kids is that we almost hardly never entertain, and we've like completely redone the whole house. And there's been like 5 people that have seen it like one time, and it's like, we do get itchy. Like, there is times where I'm like, I'm ready to have like some people over and like entertain. And
well, let me tell you,
it's one of the things that it's an unfortunate byproduct of being friends with people that have kids is, it's easier to just go to their house, and
right.
it makes the relationship work.
The night that Avery broke her finger,
Oh, God, you were going to sneak over.
Literally had them in their pajamas.
Ugh,
they were
that
so
poor girl.
excited. We had them in their jammies. We were going to come over. I was like, we can just put them in the spare bedroom. They were jacked. And then we had a broken finger incident. So
remember it was like a
it
couple
didn't
months
happen.
ago where you were like downstairs with the girls, and me and Jen were texting Dave, and we snuck over.
Yes.
And we had like popcorn and brandy old fashions, and you
Oh.
came up to the steps.
I have never
Upstairs.
been more surprised
The
at
look
it.
on
I
your face.
literally
You're
looked
like,
at
what
you
the
like,
fuck are they doing
who
here?
are you and why are you on my couch? And then I was like, oh my God, it's you.
I think you did that too.
That was brilliant.
Jen was like sleeping and you came over to our house one time, didn't you?
I think so.
I love doing that.
Sneaky.
That's one of our fun little
Sneaky
things that
little
we do.
bastards we are. I know. It is. It's fun. And I think, again, like, to have friends like that, like, we want to be with you.
Right.
We want to be around you. And I think that's a good friend too, is a friend has to be someone you want to be around.
Yes.
Otherwise,
it shouldn't be a chore.
it should not be a chore. It should not be hard.
Yeah.
Friendships should not be hard. If
Yeah.
it's hard, then move on with your life.
Right.
Like, evaluate what is there for you and why it's so difficult.
Yeah.
And if it's too much of your mental capacity and it causes you anguish, like, move on.
Right.
It's
then
okay.
find someone that you do jive with.
Right. Yeah. It's okay. It's
All
cool.
right. Final question. What does like the perfect friend date for us all look like? You, Dave, me, and Jen. Perfect friend date. What does that look like? So we have
Another trip.
Right. Would that be it?
Can we make it a 7-day date
Right.
with an overnight stay?
Okay, the trip is expected.
Yes.
I'll give you that one.
Okay.
So let's say we have
Gosh,
we have
here's the thing,
we
though.
have 6 hours.
Yes. Ooh, I'm all over this.
Okay.
Okay. Because we've done this, and I love it.
I'm gonna say it's probably something that we've.
It's probably something
I almost
we've done.
already know what you're gonna say.
It's gonna
probably.
be like, here's the thing: we bounce. I like bouncing.
Yes, that is
okay,
something we
so
definitely
we bounce around. By bounce, I mean that bounce around. So we pick a restaurant for appetizers.
Yes.
Pick a restaurant for an entree. Pick a restaurant for dessert.
Yep.
Probably end up at Elsa's.
Or Potawatomi
or
at
Potto.
2 a.m. like the other
Oh
weekend.
my. Or something. Like, it's that spontaneity with you
Yes.
guys, that there are no expectations for what we're doing.
Yes.
It's just whatever we end up doing is going to be a blast.
Yeah.
Like, really, that's it. The plan is no plan.
We could be at a bonfire and we'd have a blast.
Oh my god. Oh, that's right up my alley.
Bonfire or a dance club.
Absolutely. where then
Right.
Jen gets the crossed arms.
Oh God,
from
right.
Dave.
I
So,
agree though.
yes.
I think how we bounce around and we do like the appetizer, entree, dinner, and we just kind of just bum around and just hit up different bars.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
I love the change of scenery and just the change in vibe and
Yeah.
just being there with you guys. I don't know.
I
That's
think
definitely
the ease of the relationship and the friendship is what's key, I think, to any friendship.
Right.
So anybody that's listening, if your friendships are not easy, figure that out
maybe
and
find
move
someone else
on.
then.
Yeah, move, bitch, get out the way. You gotta make yourself happy.
Right.
It's all about happiness. Why be anything else?
Right. Well, I love you so much.
I love
Thank
you.
you so much we finally got you on an
I
episode.
know.
thought
I'm
it was
so happy to be
I
here.
thought it was a great episode because friendships are something that like you just don't hear people really dive into. And I think we touched on a lot of really fascinating questions and gotten some really cool conversations that I think might give some of the listeners perspective and maybe value the friendships they have now or try harder with some of the friendships they have.
Right.
Or go out there and try and build new friendships.
Or maybe
So-
they want to be my friend.
Yeah, right. Where speaking of that, where can people find you?
Ooh, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Nat__Mort, M-O-R-T. Also on Facebook, Natalie Mortensen. And I had to, TikTok was a rabbit hole for me. I had to get off, but Instagram is probably the easiest. So hopefully we'll find each other there.
Right.
I have to say one last thing before we head out, that if you have a friend, you know their likes and dislikes, or you should. So, Martin, before we leave, I have a gigantic bag of Black Forest gummy bears for you.
Oh my God. Yes.
So, thank you for having me. I'm
thank you
pumped,
so
and
much.
I will leave you with that gift, that parting
Hopefully,
gift.
hopefully we hang out this weekend.
That's a given.
Oh, it's Mother's Day this weekend.
Oh, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, screw the kids. Thank you.
Yeah, I love you.